Hey guys, my name is Livid, or Livid Frey. For those of you who do not know who I am, I used to make a lot of Division 1 content back in the day, and I did a beginner's guide a couple years ago that did fairly well, but I thought that it was kind of rushed. I think I can do a lot better. And I've been thinking about this game a lot lately, so I booted the game up, I made a new character as I do every so often, just to play the story again, and I decided I want to redo my beginner's guide and I want to make it a series. So essentially the videos are going to be split up between levels 1 and 30. This video is specifically structured around Brooklyn, so it's kind of the prologue. It's before you actually get to the main map in the game. It goes over the basics. I'm going to go over the mechanics, some tips and tricks that I found helpful when I first started out, and I'm going to really dive into the gear, some things you should be focusing on, some things that you don't need to worry about as much. And of course, if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to comment them down below, and I will answer them in the following video that I upload. But as you can see here, all I'm doing is making a character. I've done this 1,000 times, so it does look like it's going really quickly. Take your time in your character, but you can change it later. So if you make any kind of mistakes, don't worry about it, it is fixable. Right after you create your own character, it's going to give you a really short tutorial on how to take cover and how to shoot your weapons. Really doesn't teach you all that much. I'll go over some more of the mechanics throughout the game kind of as we play. Shortly after you create a character and do the tutorial for your guns, it's going to tell you to go to the safe house in Brooklyn. This is where you end up meeting Fei Lao for the first time. Fei Lao is pretty much your liaison throughout this whole game. She's in your ear during every mission. Everywhere you go, she's going to be there. Fei is part of the second wave of Division agents to be activated along with yourself. So you are both second wave Division agents. And right here, she explains that the first wave of Division agents kind of went MIA. Nobody really knows what happened to them. This other guy in the shot is a JTF lieutenant. JTF just stands for Joint Task Force, so it was all that was left of police, fire, and emergency services. Her and this lieutenant are coming up with a plan to deal with the rioters that are in the area. The rioters is the first faction that you fight. They are essentially street gangs. So the very first thing that you see me doing here is assigning a skill. So when you first start out, you start out with 3 skills to choose from. It's either going to be the pulse, a sticky bomb, or a riot shield. I usually go with the pulse or the sticky bomb. The shield is not very effective when you first start out. The pulse, it just marks all the enemies in the area and it gives you a really small percentage of critical hit chance and damage, which I'll go into that later, but if you have played other games before, you pretty much know what it is. The sticky bomb is exactly how it sounds. It's a sticky bomb. You just shoot a bomb and it explodes in the radius. Very effective skill, especially later on. And early on it's great too, but the riot shield itself, it does not have very much HP because you don't have the stats to properly equip it. I would personally recommend the pulse or the sticky bomb, but if you want to run the shield, that's great too. After you do that, you're basically heading out to your missions. These first 3 missions are really simple, basic. It just gets you used to the gunplay, the mechanics, gives you an understanding of the kind of missions you'll be doing. Usually at the end of all these missions, there's some kind of crate you can open, so don't forget to check for those. On your map, there will be a marker that looks like this. I'll zoom into it right here. Keep an eye out for these. You can loot them and it'll give you a gear item or a gun item that you can either keep or sell or scrap, and I'll get into that more later too. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about these numbers here for just a second while I have it open. It's going to be a little confusing, so I'll just explain it as best as I can. The DPS number right here is a reflection of all of these stats right here put together. Your firearms, your stamina, and electronics overall number is what's rolled onto your gear. For example, this chest piece that I started out with only had 4 armor at a level 1, but this one that I have here is 13 armor at level 1, so this chest piece is obviously better. This one has more armor, so it's going to increase my overall toughness number up here. Eventually, you're going to start picking up gear that has a number actually assigned to firearm, stamina, or electronics, so it's going to increase the overall base number. So it's going to boost that overall stat. Now, right now, we are only level 2, so our stats are set at 22. As far as the weapons go, the Navy MP5 is showing a higher DPS, even though the shotgun has a higher base damage. This is because it's factoring in the RPM of the weapon as well as the magazine size. This is just what the game likes to do. And if you don't know, DPS in this game is how much the weapon is actually capable of firing per shot. RPM is how many shots the weapon fires per minute, and the magazine size is obviously mag size. You can eventually add a weapon attachment to your gun to change the numbers around, and I'll explain that once we start picking up mods. And in this scenario, the Navy MP5 has a higher mag size and RPM, so it's going to show an overall firepower number that's higher than the M870. But that doesn't change the fact that the M870 has a higher overall base damage number. It all comes down to personal preference, but I wanted to explain what these numbers mean a little bit more before we move forward. So this weapon right here is really good. The G36 always has a lock talent equipped called Focused. It does not matter what level the weapon is. Focused will always be locked to this gun. You cannot roll the talent away, which I will go over more into re-rolling talents later once we get there. But when a talent is locked, it will show what stats are required to unlock that talent. Right now it shows a requirement of 38 firearms and 38 electronics from this icon right here that corresponds. This is a low-level weapon, so the stats to unlock its talent are going to be a lot lower than it would be if you were picking up a gun at level 10. When you level up and pick up higher level guns, the requirements to unlock those talents are going to go up too. As you can see, we do not have the stat requirements to unlock this talent yet. Focused is a good talent if you don't plan to use your skills as often. Most assault rifles in this game are very reliable though, and we just happen to pick up one of the most reliable ARs in the game. It has a high base damage to RPM ratio, so you don't need the talent to make it useful. I end up using this gun, I think, until level 5 or something. I use it for multiple levels. Also keep in mind that the talents that are unlocked on these guns will factor into your overall firepower number up here. So if this talent were unlocked for me right now, and active from me not using my skills, my firepower would be a higher number than it is right now, and it would go back to normal if I end up using a skill. Right now, as I hover over it, it's showing me the standalone stats of the weapon, and not the stats if the talent were included. All weapons also have set attributes. SMGs have critical hit chance, shotguns have a stagger percentage, assault rifles have enemy armor damage. The enemies that we're fighting right now don't have armor, they all have health bars, but regardless, ARs are still very versatile to use because of their high damage and RPM, so I'm actually going to switch to the G36 until I find something better to use. There is another mission coming up too where we have to fight a boss at the end, a rioter boss. So he has armor, it's going to come in handy for later for sure. I was just here doing this mission and I got an angled grip weapon attachment to drop. I'm going to go ahead and throw it on the G36 just so you can see what it looks like, but the angled grips are always stability. This one's a really low level, so it's only going to give me 0.5%. But the angled grips are stability. There's some that give you optimal range, reload speed, and you can get muzzles and stuff like that too, but we'll get more into that later. Right now I'm going to fast travel for the first time. A lot of people don't realize that you can actually fast travel to the safe rooms once you unlock them. This includes the safe house in Brooklyn. So once you have visited this safe room, which we did when we went and saw Fei Lao, you can fast travel no matter where you are in that area or in that district. So I'm going to go ahead and fast travel by pressing X on my keyboard and then space to confirm fast travel. I don't know what it is on Xbox, but I believe on PlayStation it is square and then X to confirm fast travel. Now as far as the vendors, through this playthrough I'm going to be limiting what I buy. You'll never see me selling gear to these guys really, because as you can see I have a lot of credits. Credits are shared amongst all your characters, and I have 2 other characters, so I have a lot of credits. So just to honor the amount of money that you guys might have, I'm not going to be buying any gear. I will buy things here and there, but it's going to be very minimal just to try and honor the amount of money that you guys have. But if you guys are going to buy gear here, you'll want to go with something that's going to increase your stats very well. Don't do something that's going to increase it by like 1 or 2. That's like a waste of money. Do something that's going to increase it by like 9 or 10. You're only going to visit this vendor guy like maybe 2 or 3 times total. So don't worry about buying stuff too much. You're mostly going to pick up whatever you use. So now we're going to go to the first main mission that you'll ever do. I ended up matchmaking for this, and I actually got somebody in my group, which was really cool. I kind of debated here for a minute if I wanted to do normal or hard difficulty. I decided to just do normal because I don't really need that challenge right now. If you want to do hard, it's really not that complicated. But yeah, like I said, I found somebody during matchmaking. We breezed through the mission. It was really, really easy. Even the boss gave us no trouble. I think he went down at the end because like all the NPCs focused him because he kind of rushed up a little bit. But overall, it was really easy. The overall story of the mission is basically you're taking over, I think it's a police precinct. I think it's like a police station that got overrun by rioters. So you're just taking them out. And then right after this, you meet Fei Lao. She's waiting for you by the pier next to the mission that you just completed. When she meets you at the helipad, she points out that the aircraft that's about to land is going to take you both to Manhattan. And the majority of the Wave 2 agents, as well as the division commanders, should already be on board. However, before the aircraft lands, it does get destroyed. Both you and Faye are injured. Faye does take the worst of it, but another aircraft does end up taking you both to Manhattan. You land inside Hudson Piers, and you are met by one of the members of the JTF who warn you about the dangers of Manhattan after the outbreak. Your character and Faye find out that Captain Benitez was in charge of operations in Manhattan, but they ended up losing contact with him that morning when he was leading ops out of the postal building. And the JTF mentioned if he was still radio silent by the next day that they planned on pulling out of the city. However, Faye refused and said that they were there to take the city back. After this, Faye just tells you to stock up on all the gear that you need and she'll meet you over there after you assist him. That is the end of Brooklyn though, so this is where I want to leave this video. If there's any questions that I didn't answer, please comment them down below. I'll make sure to answer them in the next video. I already have all the footage for everything, I just need to put the video together, and I think the next video will go up until like level 6 or 7, and I'm going to go over some more of the gun mechanics, some helpful tips and tricks, and we'll talk some more about the story too. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, and if you want to see the next one, please think of subscribing, and I will see you guys next time. Later.